How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Engine 25. My name is Brandon, and today I'm going to be reviewing Bright, the Netflix original feature film directed by David Ayer. Netflix has had quite a few original series nowadays, and they've done several Netflix original feature-length movies, but this is the first one that they call a big budget movie. It's reportedly cost upwards of $90 million and is their attempt at sort of a big mainstream action movie like we're seeing in the theaters a lot during the summer. So here we go. Like I said, Bright is directed by David Ayer, who directed Suicide Squad. It also stars Will Smith, who also starred in Suicide Squad. And Bright depicts a world where fantasy races such as orcs and elves and fairies and the like exist in the modern day in 2017, and the film takes place in Los Angeles. Will Smith plays a police officer who has been out of commission for a little bit following an incident that took place on the job, and Joel Edgerton plays his partner, who is the first orc police officer in the world as members of the LAPD. Bright does a lot of things right. It's a pretty well realized world, so the setting's really interesting. It drops you in as early as the opening credits. As names are going across the screen, it's kind of showing you flashes of the Los Angeles that takes place in this world. And there's a lot of interesting graffiti done by the various races, and it kind of sets up that certain races have gangs and little areas of the city, sort of like our big cities do in the real world. So it sets itself up well, and then it introduces our main characters played by Will Smith and Joel Edgerton. Elves and orcs in this movie sort of appear a little bit more human than like fans of Lord of the Rings or something like that might be used to, but they generally they work pretty well. Orcs look really awesome. Joel Edgerton's makeup is fantastic, and the look of them is more realistic, and it works in the kind of gritty world that the movie sets up. It's not fanciful fantasy. It's real world, dark, kind of violent fantasy. It's fun, but the movie is a little intense, which I enjoyed and was a little surprised by, to be honest with you. The movie has a lot of social commentary, and it's using the races in the movie, the elves and the orcs and what have you, as metaphors for real world races and conflicts that go on between them, etc. Some of that falls really flat, like but a lot of it really works. There's a lot of great dialogue and charisma, particularly among the leads, that kind of holds up the movie. And while some of that commentary feels forced, when it works really well, and I was really glad to see that. Will Smith is fantastic in this movie. His relationship with his partner is kind of tense, and it's a grim movie. Like, there are a lot of bad things happen in the sort of 90-minute runtime, but Will Smith and Joel Edgerton really hold the movie up. Joel Edgerton brings his A game here, and even though he's caked in seems like inches of makeup, the prosthetics still let him give a great performance, and it's not limiting, which is great. And his character looks really awesome. Unfortunately, the supporting cast is kind of weak here. The most criminal offense is they have Noomi Rapace of the European Girl with the Dragon Tattoo series, and she's in Prometheus and a couple other films. And she's a fantastic actress. And in this movie, she plays a villain who is an elf, but she's not given much to do. She's not in the movie very much. She fails to be threatening. She doesn't have any dialogue really, so she's not charismatic. I'm trying to think back, and she may have said 3 lines in the 90-minute runtime, and that's really unfortunate. Noomi Rapace is really fantastic, and it's kind of a bummer because the movie really wants to be relevant and shout themes of diversity, and you hire a really great woman that could be a fantastic villain, and it falls really flat. It doesn't really work, and that's upsetting. Um, the other supporting cast, there are a couple of police officers that set up a really interesting situation, but they're all kind of cookie cutter stock characters, and that's kind of a bummer. And then there's this FBI like organization whose purpose is to control magic in the United States and who has access to magic and who can wield it and to cover up magical crimes and things like that. And it's a cool idea that's really underutilized, unfortunately. Overall, the movie, it kind of has a thin plot, unfortunately. Like, the setting shows a lot of promise. There could be a lot of things going on here, but there's a lot of cliche and very little substance. The movie's fun. It's definitely fun, and I'm gonna repeat that again. It's a great, the relationship between Will Smith's character and Joel Edgerton's orcish character work really well, and that holds up the movie a lot better than it could have. Unfortunately, it kind of turns it into a decent buddy movie, but like the police drama doesn't really work, other than one kind of action scene in the middle with stock characters that I didn't care about anyway. The fantasy it's a cool setting, but they don't utilize that setting super well as in terms of the story. This is a story that could have been told exactly the same way in the real world, and I guess that's fine. It seemed they spent all this time setting up a really cool place for this to take place in, and they don't utilize that a whole lot, or at least not to as good an effect as I would think that they could have. And like I said, the movie shouts themes of diversity and inclusion, and it kind of works at times, and then in other times it falls really flat in that regard. Ultimately, I'm interested in seeing more of this setting. Like, I read that there's a sequel. It's already greenlit. I want to spend more time with Will Smith's character. I've always liked Will Smith, but in general, this movie falls pretty flat. Probably worth a view on a popcorn night with your buddies, but in general, it's just okay. That's the best I can give it, really. The buddy dynamic between Will Smith and Joel Edgerton works really well. The setting is cool, but isn't used as well as it could have been, and the movie's just kind of okay at best, unfortunately. Now, and I forgot to mention this in my other video, I'd like to remind everybody to, if you like what you've seen here, please subscribe on YouTube, like us on Facebook, facebook.com/Engine25Production. And each of our social media that you subscribe to gives you one entry to win this awesome book, Star Wars: The Last Jedi, Incredible Cross Sections. I'm going to run the giveaway until probably this weekend, and then I will choose a winner each time you subscribe to our social media. It gives you one entry. I'll select a winner and notify that person via email. Thank you very much for watching, and come back to Engine 25 later in the week for more reviews. I got a bunch of stuff coming. Thanks, guys.